Aloha, and welcome to our BYU Hawaii Ho'okele alumni podcast. I am your host, Jason Ava, and I am so excited today to be able to bring somebody on along with her eternal companion. But before I get into the fun stuff, I want to remind all of our viewers, and by the way, I want to thank you guys for all joining us on this platform. I want to remind our viewers that we are located on the Ohana Network. So if you see the ticker down below, that's some information for you to sign up to stay involved with a lot of the things that we're doing here on campus. This school has been open since 1955, and so we definitely wanted to connect to all of our kupunas that are still around and be able to make the connection between them and our current students, because some of us we have legacy here, and I'm very proud I'm one of them. And so today, I don't want to take any more time in introducing what those things are, but we have a wonderful couple that are alumni from way back when, but you can't tell if you take a look at them. They look like they've been eating healthy. They don't eat none of the fast foods. These folks, they stay up and up with our community, and they're very we're very honored to have them here today. So let me just give a brief introduction as to who they are. And so born and raised on the island of Maui, and then moved to the Big Island at the age of 12. She's had opportunities to attend 3 different high schools and prepare for post-high school. Hiapo is the Hawaiian word for eldest. She's the eldest of 11 children. She learned a lot of value of hard work and commitment. She first entered BYU Hawaii in the fall of 1982. 1982, you wouldn't have guessed that, she's of that generation, but yes. And so she graduated with an associated degree in travel management in 1985. She married her sweet eternal companion in April 20th, 1985 in the Laia Temple. She's been blessed with 2 beautiful children that have attended BYU Hawaii. Their daughter, Kalia, graduated at BYU Hawaii in 2019 and is a Hawaiian immersion teacher at Haula Elementary School. Their son works for Kamehameha Schools on Maui campus. A promise was made that one day we would return to finish what I began 36 years ago, is what she says. She says, "Here I am today, returning to this community and place that I call home to fulfill a lifelong dream. I have entered, continued learning, and look forward to graduation in December and continue to serve my fellow brothers and sisters." Ladies and gentlemen, help me give a big warm aloha to Melony and David NeSmith. Aloha, auntie and uncle.
How's it?
Aloha.
We are so excited to have you here today, especially on this wonderful Aloha Friday and this afternoon. Every week we do this. We always bring our special guests, and they always they made impacts in our community, such as yourselves. And so we are honored and privileged to have you share your story today. And so without any further ado, I want to get right into it, because I'm pretty sure that we're going to have a lot of your fans, family, and friends that's going to get on, and we encourage them to actually, get into the chat so that they can ask their questions, and we'll do that as later part after your stories. But how are you guys feeling today?
Awesome. So grateful to be here, Jace. Feel very honored to be here.
Somewhat fearful and anxious at the same time. To be honest.
What an introduction you gave us.
Well, I mean, if we could have had more time, I mean, I think I should just put your name in devotional for here on campus, because you guys have a very neat story and a journey that a lot of us can relate to. You know what I mean? The reason why you come to school here, it's your parents, it's your upbringing, and it's your passion for being able to instill those same things in many of us. We've had this conversation before, and so you are right there along with my parents and my mother, Jancel Bustamante. She went to school during around those times too. And so there's this revered love for a lot of our parents and their classmates that you guys set a trend and a pathway for a lot of us to follow, and we've been successful at it because of you. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people here that probably has questions in their minds, and so we definitely want them to ask them so that way you can answer them. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we get right into some of these photos that I had the opportunity to really look them over and go, wow, these are very intimate. So give us a little introduction to yourselves after I gave one already. So go ahead.
So I was born and raised on the island of Kauai.
Mhm.
I actually first came to school in the fall of 1980 after graduating from high school. I was actually trying to go into the military. I had busted my knee playing football my senior year, so that was out. Tried to go into the military, but because of the surgery that I had on my knee, that was out. And I was like, I had no more options. And so my mom said, go down to La'i and you're going to go to school. And BYU was not on my list of things to do. But I listened to my mom, came down in this way, was able to get into school. And so I was here from 1980 to 1981. And then in the fall of 81, I went and served my mission in the South Dakota Rapid City Mission.
Wow.
Got home. I actually served an 18-month mission. It was when the church had changed the time from Melchizedek priesthood holders from 2 years to 18 months. Came home in March of 83. And then while trying to get back into school for fall of 83, went back to work at PCC. I was a canoe guide and saw this beautiful young local girl. And I put it into my mind, that's probably out of my league. So that's how we kind of started in that area.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So David, I might have missed it, but where are you originally from?
The island of Kauai.
Kauai.
Kekaha, Kauai.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
wow.
I met my wife that summer coming home from 1983. She was out in front, and we would always have to walk by. And I hung out with Darian Maialva and Salofi Hanneman, and we were the three compadres for a long time. And I just never put it into my mind that we would actually be together.
But of the three, my eye was always on him.
Absolutely. Well, for our audience out there, as we go through some of the pictures that David and Melony are going to share in a few minutes, you can see why. And so let me do this. How about we get right into it? Is that okay with you, Melony?
Go ahead. Let's do that.
Yes.
All right. So let me go ahead. And so this is David and Melony NeSmith's story through pictures. And so this is going to be awesome. All right. Tell me a little bit about what this means as far as a promise kept. I like that. What do you mean by that, Melony?
I graduated in 1985 just with my associate's degree, and I always had a desire just to come back and finish and put Dave through school. He graduated in 90 and we stayed a couple more years, but he made a promise back then that we would return one day, and he's fulfilled that promise. We were able to come back, and here I am 36 years later, finishing my education, finishing a lifelong dream of becoming an educator, becoming a teacher. So he certainly was a man of integrity. He certainly kept his promise that one day we would return. So that's the title of our podcast today, A Promise Kept.
Nice. Okay, well, let's get into it. All right, tell us about this handsome couple here. This is great. I love.
Are you sure that's awesome?
This picture right here is a very classic picture that I remember a lot of us kids at that time, we all wanted the mullet look, but we couldn't pull it off. But this is an introduction to me when I came to Hawaii in the early 90s, that it was a very popular with the feather hair. So this is a very nice picture. So tell me a little bit about this.
The look of the 80s. Well, that was our wedding invitation. And if you're able to look closely, it's kind of interesting because I'm blessed with 3 dads. And so it's my stepdad's name that's on there. It's my real dad's name that's on there. And because we were from different islands, we went to every island to have a reception. So after we had one here, we traveled to Kauai, had a reception there. We traveled to Maui, had a reception there. And we actually had one on the Big Island too. So those are all of the different places that we had receptions at too.
Well, let me ask, being that I'm a married man, I'm very blessed. But when for a lot of our young viewers out there that are thinking about getting married to that special someone, my question to you is, Uncle David, what was that like to have three different receptions? What was that like?
It was something that we had been talking. We dated for 2 years. We were engaged for 1 year within that 2 year time. So we had a lot of time to talk about, okay, all right, so we have to go back to Kauai because that's where my family is. I know we have to go to Maui because that's where your family is. And knowing that there were other dads also involved was kind of an interesting thing.
Right.
But it was a story of her life as well, and her coming into this world actually. When we were preparing to get married, you got to get your marriage license.
Yes.
Right? Through the state of Hawaii, you got to get that first. And we were having trouble with hers because there was no Melony Hota recorded in the state of Hawaii during the year she was born. There was nobody by that name in any hospital. What we ended up finding out later on, we had to use her baptismal records to get our marriage license. What we ended up finding out through an affidavit was that she was actually known as Baby Girl Hill. She wasn't given a name in the hospital. So to have birth certificates and these different things, we learned a lot of genealogy, I guess you could say, through us just coming together and getting married.
My mom was just 15 when she had me. And so she didn't marry. My dad didn't feel at that age she should. And so when she left the hospital, she hadn't named me, and I just had her maiden name on my birth certificate. So years later, as a Christmas gift, I actually got a birth certificate from my mom with my full name on it and my dad's name on it too. That was a gift that she gave me.
Wow, that's so you both have unique last names. Do you mind sharing a little bit about Hota and NeSmith, like the origin of where that comes from?
It's kind of interesting that you asked. So my biological father is actually a kaka. So Senator Daniel Akaka and my grandfather are first cousins. So my line goes back there. Hota is Japanese, and he is from Japan. And he met my mom. She was a junior in high school. And it's funny because my real dad and he had served in the military together. And my adopted dad, Hota, was coming back to Maui. And so my real dad said, you need to go look for this lady. Her name is Marilyn. She just had my child. Please go see her, check on her, make sure she's okay. And then the story, my adopted dad checks in on my mom and ends up marrying her, my adopted dad, and raises me, and I didn't know who my real dad was until I was 14. My mom had sent me to Maui, back to Maui, to meet my real dad for the first time. So, wow. Yeah.
That is an amazing story.
And
wow.
what's really interesting though is her last name is Hota, but that's not legal either.
We found out the adoption wasn't legal. He was in the military and papers were just torn up. So the adoption was never legal too. So instead of paying to change it and everything, we thought, well, I'm going to be a NeSmith soon. So we just kind of waited until I got married. But yeah, just, telling my children that they have 3 papas. And I'm very blessed.
Yes.
I had a dad that was responsible for giving me life. Then I had a dad that raised me up until a certain point, and then another dad. And all 3 dads were not members of the church. I did the work for my first dad, my biological dad. I did the work for my adopted dad. And on March 10th, 2022, we'll do the work for my stepdad. So very blessed.
Wow. I felt that one. Yeah. Most, especially with Uncle David and myself, as being fathers, I like to say that we definitely take our responsibility as fathers very serious. And so the fact that you had 3, that's a huge blessing. That is a huge blessing. And so Uncle, what about yours, NeSmith? What's the origin of that?
So my dad moved to Hawaii when he was 13 from California, but by way of Texas. He was born in Corpus Christi. Blonde hair, blue eyes. He lived in Kaneohe from age 12 and 13 on through high school. Met my mom in high school and chased her around until she was ready to get married. And when they graduated from high school, my mom signed up for the Army. And so one of her things was, if you can find me, you can marry me. And so my dad enlisted in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And they ended up getting together in Germany and got married. But my dad was, the first non-Hawaiian or non-brown person that attended Castle High School. So he was kind of a novelty when he was here.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started school here, I'm a PE major, was a PE major. And my faculty advisor was Coach K. And Coach K, when he found out who I was, called me into his office one day and had to tell me a story that when he was a young boy growing up, one of his persons of interest that he would always make sure to follow football season, he said, I remember this tall, skinny, howly boy, blue eyes, blonde hair, the only white guy that was playing with all these brown guys. And he recognized that as being my father. And that was somebody that we connected with when I came to school here. But it goes back a long ways. It's got some Scottish and Irish English background. The story that we were told as kids was from back in Ireland. It was he was a blacksmith who was irreverent and often feisty, getting into bar fights, and everybody would be saying, "Nay, Smith," because he was the blacksmith. So whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's something that was told to us growing up.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Now, for some of our viewers, who is Coach K? What's his?
Coach K is Norman Kaluhio Kalani. He was the faculty chairperson at the physical education department. They didn't like it called, we don't like being called PE all the time. It's a physical education. And now I believe today it's called exercise science.
They have many names, but I still couldn't make the time for the mile and a half for fitness living. So
fitness for
dad. Yeah.
I don't care what you call it. I still couldn't make the mile and a half. So anyway, I struggled in that class. But thank you for sharing that. Here we go. Let's get it. We're getting to the juicy part.
Oh boy.
Tell us a little bit about this wonderful occasion, this special day.
That was our wedding day, and the reception that we had was right here on campus. Uncle Gene Chrisman and Auntie Moana Chrisman. Uncle Gene was the business manager, so he lived right next to the president's house. That house that's next to the president and also next to the what you might call to the Halewan, and then
the health room,
and then the Uncle Gene's home. But Auntie Moana Chrisman, who was a Suafilo, is like Ohana to Dave. And so we asked if we could have our outdoor reception there. So that's where it was held, our outdoor reception, surrounded by dear family and friends. So that was the very first of our receptions and journey on to the next island. So that was our day. So we just celebrated our 36th wedding anniversary a couple of weeks ago, and 38 years together.
Congratulations. Wow.
What's interesting was I was living in the Hawaiian house on Yosepa Street, and my roommates were all going to surprise me with a bachelor party. Unbeknownst to them, however, my wife and I took care of all of our catering. A few people did some things for us, but we were out to past midnight getting our wedding cake, getting everything, so that by the time I finally got home to get some rest, all I saw was a sign. Everybody was crashed out. Congratulations.
We missed you, Dave. But yeah.
Those are always exciting times. Planning for a wedding, it's a moment in time, but it sets up for, like you said, your eternal companion, right? And for many of us, we hear it's happy wife, happy life, or it's easy to get married, but to stay married is the challenge. And being that for 36 years, 38 years altogether, I really applaud you for that. That really sets the example for a lot of us who are young in marriage they should actually sit down and have that conversation with you. Like, how do you do it? And had I learned that my hairline wouldn't gone back here, I probably would have a nice receding hair. But when you're young and you're dumb, you try to figure things out, and but then you talk to your aunties and your uncles and those who come before you, and they tell you, hey, as long as the queen is the queen, you'll be all right. So congratulations on that. Okay, let's see. All right, this is the modeling agency here. Here we go.
That was the picture of us too. We were just taking different shots. We weren't sure which one to put on the wedding announcement. So those are just different pictures, and then Of course, one of my favorite jobs was I was dorm mom at Hale 3, and I loved it. I had 220 girls from all parts of the country, of the world, of the continental USA, and I loved it. But one of my RAs and I, as a present to her, we went and did pictures at Model U. It was located downstairs at the Windward Mall, and so she and I, Elisa Pratt, she and I went and we did pictures. So that's my famous Model U picture there.
Nice.
Elisa Pratt is now Elisa Kenny.
Yeah, Elisa Pratt is now Elisa Kenny. They live in Kahuku. Yeah.
And I want to also bring to the audience attention. I don't think Photoshop existed during those times. So what you see is the real thing. This is authentic. Okay? You don't need any brushing up here and there. This is for real. So this is great.
You know, there's a question that you haven't asked us, and that's actually how we actually came together.
Please tell us. I was alluding to that part, but please tell us, Uncle.
Yeah.
Tell us the magic. What was the magic that happened that brought you guys together? Please.
So we have this really good friend between us. Her name is Linda Bell, and we were all working at PCC. She was a tour guide as well. Well, one day she came and she asked me if I would mind going with her and playing tennis. So back in the day, there were 3 tennis courts between the dorms, which is now gone. But there were 3 tennis courts. And so I said, sure, I'd love to. I mean, I don't play tennis, but I'd love to go. So we had a date. Well, we get to the tennis courts. This is my version. We get to the tennis courts, and so I see her there. And so my heart starts pounding. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And eventually Linda comes over, not knowing that someone else had asked her on a date to do the same thing. So we ended up on the same court. So now my date is Linda. Her date, who is Chad
Kiliiliki,
were on the same side. And then she and I were on the same side. And then all of a sudden, Linda and Chad said, oh, we have to go somewhere. We'll be right back.
And they never came back.
So
Wow.
I looked at her and said, well, would you mind playing? And she said, no. So she went to the other side, and we stayed and we played tennis. So a lot of people, when they ask us, how did we get together? I would always say, well, it was love.
Tennis score, yeah, love.
I got it.
That's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Yes. So Anthony, what was his how would you rate his story in terms of, did it work? I mean, obviously it worked, but what was it that you took from that actually sold you that this was going to be the man?
I think it was his persistence, Jace, because I always wanted to go on a mission. And I would always tell him, I love you like a brother. And, we practice 6 feet distancing now because of COVID. I was practicing 6 feet distancing back then. I was like, I love you like a brother. And he said, oh, I don't like being your brother. I said, no. But I had a strong desire to go on a mission. And President Shumway was our state president at that time. And I went in to sit. And I think to today, that's one of the men that Dave has great love and aloha for, because it was through the counsel from President Shumway that I decided that my being married to this worthy young man was more important then, and that one day we would go on our missions, together. So it took a little while because I had that desire to serve. But I knew back then, with Dave, he lost. I did win the tennis game because I was he lost, and he thought, okay, hey. And he was still humble, still wanted to play every time. So I said, hey, okay then. Even if you know you're going to lose, you still wanted to. So, yeah.
The one way we keep coming back.
Yes. It's part of the strategy. You got to give a little and take a little. But yeah, so some of us haven't perfected it like Uncle did, but it looks like you both won on that day. So this is wow.
It was a win-win. It was a win-win.
It was a win-win. Not too many of us have the win-win situation, but it sounded like it was a win-win. So wow. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for correcting me, because
no, not a problem. Because when I look at these pictures, these things come back to the flood of memories.
Yes.
So the one in a tank top, we were living in G200 at TVA.
Yes.
This is our TVA baby.
Born.
Yep.
And this young man who is this young man here?
This is our son, Brandon.
Brandon.
He was born when we moved from here. He was 5. He had attended La'i Elementary for kindergarten. So that's how old he was by the time we moved out of La'i.
Yeah. So the picture, we're in our apartment, G building, and he's in his stroller. That's a TVA. But outside the other one, we're at the BYU bookstore. That's where Dave had worked. He was worked at the BYU bookstore. So that's our Brandon, and he's celebrating his birthday today,
Exactly.
May 21st. Yeah,
Yep,
35 years old.
35.
Our TVA baby.
35 TVA baby.
30.
My goodness. I'm pretty sure everybody would agree that you guys don't look old enough to have kids that age. And so
we're gonna pay you later. We know what money.
No worries, man.
I gotta pay my tithing first. Sorry, no.
One thing that I've learned for sure is like the older you get, it's hard to like tell good stories, right? You just be honest and move on with it, right? So I'm telling you, you guys don't look old enough to have children that age. But thank you for that. I appreciate the tank top. They don't make those tank tops anymore. I don't think we could have the classic gun show like you have there. So this is nice.
It's covered by the stroller. It's good.
Yeah.
All right. So is this another picture?
That's Brandon, and I wanted to include because we would always go walk to the temple. That was like our favorite thing to do. Go walk to the temple or take him in his stroller. So I included that. That's a great memory for me of him being in front of the temple.
You know, it's funny because about a month ago or so, I was looking at her, and I was telling, hey, how about you go back to that feathered look again?
It's classic.
Yeah,
it's a very classic
way of putting it.
When I came from the mainland, that was a pretty classic look that I came to admire and respect because a lot of the folks down in the Kalihi side, they'd had that feather look, and of course some of my dad and their siblings they wanted to look like Donny Osmond, and so they had that feather back with the bell bottom look. And so, anyways, it brings back good memories for me as well as a kid. So all right. So what this group right here? This is a concert. What is this?
My favorite job, like I said, that was Hale 3, named Hale Nainoa. It was a girls' dorm back then. Now it's a boys' dorm and it's 3 stories high. Back then it was just 2 stories high. And for me, what was so awesome is that that's where I began in 1982. That's where I lived downstairs in Unit 110. And here I was returning, 7 years later because I got hired as dorm mom in 1989. And I loved it. Girls from all over the world, the continental US, all these different countries that I got to not just be a mom to, but you were a counselor, you were a friend, help some girls through some really dark times in their life. And I'm so grateful. It was one of the hardest things when we left. I cried, and it was just time. Heavenly Father knew it was time for us to move on. And that's when we had moved to Kauai. But so many of these girls, they still keep in touch. When they had their first babies, they would send me the announcements. When they got married, sent me wedding announcements. And it's still Mom Mel today. And I'll be in the community and some of them are here. They'll, Mom, and people will look like, they're calling her mom. But that's what I was. I was their mom away from home. And it was very endearing for me. It's a title that I take to heart. But love these girls. And I can tell you many of their names, where they live, the unit they're in, the room, the roommates. I mean, those are some of the things I can remember today even. Yeah.
What was one of the valuable lessons you learned as a dorm mom, as you worked with many of these young women at that time? What was one valuable lesson that you've learned?
That's a wonderful question because I learned many, but I learned, and I think what it helped me as a mom to see them as God sees them.
Wow.
Yeah, really, truly see them. Some of them came with, they had their own personal things that they had to work through. Some of them coming from a different country for the first time. This is also new, so foreign, leaving their families. But I saw their commitments to the gospel. I saw their commitments to a higher education, and many of them, they taught me valuable lessons. But I think through all of it, Jason, is to see them as Heavenly Father saw them and help them to understand their worth as daughters of God. And as I watched them become engaged, as I watched them go through some of their struggles, having their own children, I thought, wow, and it's come full circle as I meet up with some of them, and they'll sit and we'll have talks and thank you, Mom, and I just got a text last week from one of my RAs who works up at Kamehameha Maui. She goes, Mom, I just saw Brandon. And it was like, they remember him when he was raised, you know, in the dorm. But it, for me, Chase, I think to answer that question, be to see them as Heavenly Father saw them and to help them understand their divine worth.
Wow. That was that really resonated with me, because I think about, if everybody could see that in each other, to see the light of Christ in each other, how different our world would be. How more forgiving we would be, because that's one of the things that I've learned with people is there's a few things you can narrow it down to. I'm tired, I'm hungry, I need validation, and that's kind of our journey in life, right? We come to progress in life, and we have a unique family situation, and a lot of times we want to know if we're doing a good job and if anybody cares or anybody's listening. And so with you having that opportunity to go with 200 and plus young women, that is a blessing in itself, to be able to have that conversation, and then they still remember you, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't what you said to them, but when they see you now, it was the feeling that resonates with them throughout the years. And I like to think that that's the spirit. You showed love with the spirit. And so, oh man, that's an amazing story. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna move on to the next one. All right.
Oh, look at that.
Yes. So tell me about this. What are we looking at?
So in 1985, she graduated with her associate's degree in travel management. Like most couples who are both students, and there's decisions to be made, right? Is families going to come later? Families going to come earlier? How does that impact your education? How does that impact my education? And so we decided together that we weren't going to wait for children, and that if children came into our lives because of our marriage, then that with this degree, she would be able to continue to work while I went to school. We needed that income. I grew up at BYU Hawaii in the days of the $2 paycheck.
Yeah.
And so, it's called I Works now. Back then it was I worked really hard and I got $2 paychecks. And so, in that regard, she made this huge sacrifice for me. So the picture next to that is 5 years later, now graduating with my degree, and just thanking her for her sacrifice. And us coming back was me giving back because of that sacrifice.
Sorry. I think there's pollen in the room. I think somebody's cutting onions over here.
Yes, stop stepping on my toe. So, but yes, it was something that was important for me, and I reminded her that there would be a time that we would come back together, and would she be ready? And when we were both kind of blessed, I was called as Bishop of the Kona First Ward. I only served for like a year and a half, but I got the impression, she got the impression that it's time to go back and get that degree. And my daughter was attending school at the time, so I let her know that we were coming. And so she's graduating this December. This has been that commitment.
Wow. If you don't mind me saying, Hanaho. I feel like I don't know what else to say. I want to say bravo. I want to say Hanaho. Oh my gosh, the sacrifices that the mothers and the wives in our lives, they never get the credit for their hard work and their sacrifice. Us men always seem to steal the spotlight. We're always thankful, like raising a good family. But anybody knows that we're nothing without the matriarchs in our home, and the fact that she understood, the fact that Auntie understood the gospel and what it meant to support the priesthood in their home and to commit to that pathway to say, okay, you go do your thing. I'll support you here and the kids. And then when it's my time, it's my time. That is very inspiring. We live in a time where it's me instead of like, well, if I give you, what are you going to give me?
Yeah.
And so these are the type of stories that many of our younger generation, even my generation, needs to hear, because it's never an easy, clear-cut path to like, I'm going to do this and get it done. There's this thing called life that always intervenes, right?
Yes.
And it requires us to be merciful, to forgive, and to be understanding. And a lot of times we run out of our blood pressure pills, and you fly off the handle, and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have just washed the dishes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe I should have took the kids out. But that's a remarkable story, especially with a lot of us. This whole platform is about an education. The whole platform is about, what has God done for us, and He's done plenty.
Yes.
When we look back at it, that saying is like, when you think things are falling apart, it's just God placed them in the right spots for you, and you're like, man, I didn't see it that way at that time.
And then knowing, giving us the opportunity to choose. That's where the agency comes in, and we had the opportunity to make this choice, and it's the right choice.
Whew. All right, we'll keep this moving, Uncle, because you got me all up in my feelings right now.
Oh yeah.
So again, there's no Photoshop in this one, guys. They didn't have this back in the days, in the 80s.
I wish Lamar was watching this.
It was pictures like this that circulated globally that made people like myself create the Photoshop. Like, I need to look like that. I need to get the blemishes off and keep rolling with that. But please share your story. What are we looking at here?
What a way to make a living, right? Only at the Polynesian Culture Center can you make $1 or more posing. In front of me is Lamar Benavides. So he was also my roommate. He was also known as the voice of the night show. He's a great singer who's now living in New Zealand with his family. But yeah, so in between giving canoe tours, they used to have the old canoe show.
Pageant of the Long
Canoes. And so this was my role in that pageant. I was Kamehameha. I stood on the canoe, and they pushed me around the lagoon, and then I'd go and change my uniform and go back to giving canoe tours. I love this part.
How could I resist, right, Chase? How could I resist that?
That's what I mean. The thing is, what my brothers out there don't understand is that when you find that special someone, she's going to elevate your game, and that's actually what I see here. I see that Nancy elevated my man, so he's walking with a lot more confidence and like, yes, I got the kind that I was wanting. And
so I remember. So the Queen was Missouri. I think she's living in Alaska right now with her husband Chris. But there was a hut in the Hawaiian village. It was a bigger hut at the very end where we used to dress. Mm-hmm. And those huts are reinforced with metal bars. And so Lamar and I and somebody else, we'd be doing our chin-ups and our pull-ups, just before going out, and just our push-ups, and everything else is up, and we just get out there, and you got to pose. You got to look good.
So you started that, because I think they still do that. I think they're trying to do pull-ups and trying to do push-ups. I think I have a niece that works in the Hawaiian village, and I have a son that works at the Polynesian Culture Center, and he talks about like, I think there was somebody that did like the most pull-ups back in the early 80s or something, and so we're trying to beat that record. So I'm thinking this might be you.
No, I don't think so. We never counted.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this is, and then the picture here, this is with your son again?
Yeah, that's in our apartment in Hale 3 in the dorm. Okay. Yeah.
My gosh, yeah.
Wow. Man, time flies, doesn't it, huh?
It sure does. Man.
And all of the girls, they helped raise him. They were like big sisters, to him.
Wow. Lucky young man, huh? Lucky young man. All right. So this is somebody we haven't talked about. Please tell me who is this in this photo here.
This is our daughter, Kelia Kawaiula Okalani NeSmith, and she was born 12 years later. Wasn't planned that way. In fact, Dave and I, after our son was like almost 10, and we thought, honey, maybe we need to look into adopting. And this story for us is we had come to the temple. We flew up and we came to the temple, and we had pleaded with the Lord. We were sitting in the celestial room, and we had pleaded with the Lord and asked, what do we do? We had yearned to have another child. And in the temple, the Lord told us that I was hapai. I was with child. I never knew. I guess I forgot what it felt like 12 years later. But in the temple, the Lord told us that we were going to have another child. And so she came. So he graduated from high school and she started kindergarten. She went through Hawaiian immersion until she graduated in the 5th grade and then was accepted to Kamehameha Maui, where we lived. And so she finished her education journey at Kamehameha Maui campus. And she always tells people she blessed with both worlds. She had both sides of the spectrum that she was able to gain. Her kahua, her foundation was with Hawaiian immersion, and then they prepared her for college at Kamehameha Maui. So that is her and her dad. Dave coaches girls basketball at Kahuku, awesome coach. And he asked her, she played basketball in high school for him. And so he asked her to help coach. And at first she was a little leery, and she decided to do it and loved it too, loved working with the girls there.
Wow. What class was this? What class is your daughter?
2015.
2015 from Maui.
From Maui.
Campus.
2019 from BYU.
Yeah. And then she just graduated last week from UH Hilo with her Hawaiian immersion teaching license. So
wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. All of your children are falling in line with the legacy that you're building, with education and with the gospel. This is really good stuff. Wow.
It's interesting because the backstory to all of this. So we were living on the island of Kauai at the time, and my wife had gotten into an exercise phase, trying to lose weight. But she wasn't feeling good. And so
we got to tell this story.
So I was coaching football at my high school I went to. I was alumni in Waimea. And we had a team doctor who was also the community doctor. So we went into the office one day, and she had gone in saying, you know what, she's been reading all these articles about hepatitis C going around. And she thought she had hepatitis. So we went to the doctor, and she was in the room, and he came out, and before going in to see her, he came out to see me out in the waiting area. And he goes, hey, listen, you know what? She's pregnant. I said, what? So I said, Doc, wait, don't go in there yet. I said, she's been reading about this hepatitis, and so she's crying right now, thinking that she's got hepatitis. I want you to really play this out. So he called me in. We went in. She didn't know that we had already talked, and I was waiting, and then he kind of came in a few seconds later. So she's worried, and I'm saying, I hope you don't have hepatitis, and all this other stuff. He comes in, starts to talk about hepatitis, and she just starts crying. He went through his whole spiel, and he goes, well, but you don't have it. You're pregnant. And she went, what?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. This
wow.
Doctor, I tell you. Yeah. So I was telling her she's my hepatitis baby. Hepatitis.
At least you will never forget.
Yes.
Wow. Well, tell us about this picture here. I know I moved on just a little bit too fast, but
it's perfect. Yeah. So that's our Kelia when she graduated from BYU Hawaii with her degree in Pacific Islands and Hawaiian Studies. That's my mom, and that's my dad. And my dad, he just passed away March 9th. Yeah, that's when we're going to do his work. We've already set a temple date. And then with Dave and I, that was in the Hawaiian Village. That was her Kihei ceremony, because she graduated in Hawaiian Studies.
My daughter and her grandfather were the best of friends. Yeah. They just loved each other. And so we needed to put this picture up on there.
Yeah. And she made a promise to him on his deathbed that she would finish. So graduated, from UH Hilo last week, and then she's going on and she's got accepted into the master's program. So she'll be starting her master's in September, plus teaching at Haula at the same time. She's going to do it. And so it's a promise kept. We talk about a promise kept. There was a promise that she made to her papa and to herself that she would finish.
Wow. It's a great photo here. And I always imagine that after we graduate this life, that we'll have that one big, I guess, luau or kongai, whichever you call it, and where all of our families that have gone before us would embrace each other and says, man, you did a great job.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that's what heaven would be like, is being surrounded by all our loved ones who have gone before us. And we'll have that opportunity to say, did I make you proud? And they go, man, in tears, yes, everything. So this is an awesome picture. Wow. All right. So this looks like this might be the whole family.
Yes, that was one of our last pictures we took together at Christmas time. I think this was 2 years ago. Yeah, that was, of course, in the visitor center. That's with our Brandon and with our Kilia.
Well, this is a great family picture. You know what? As you were talking, we chimed in on some. We have a unique special guest that we're delighted to bring onto this platform. So if you don't mind, I'm going to switch out of this thing here. And all right, so let's see who's at the door. Let me see, man, here. Hey, we have Celia and we have brother. This is Brandon, right?
Yes, it is.
Brandon, how you guys doing? Welcome to our podcast. And so this is a great treat because I do believe Mom was just talking about her son having a birthday. Is that?
I think so.
Is that today?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Yes.
Oh, hi, brother and sis.
What's up? Anna
Hey,
Kim.
Mom.
Hi, Mom.
We wanted to we didn't want to have this intimate moment without the two reasons why auntie and uncle do what they do best. And it's because of their children. So I want you guys to take a minute, to share your thoughts of what you've been listening to for the first 45 minutes and just take it away.
All right, sis, you go first because I just didn't have a chance to listen.
Okay. I actually just jumped on the last half of the podcast, but I think that I can just speak from experience, just from knowing my parents my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
But, they're just people of service. And that's one thing that I think my brother and I look up to a lot, is that they just love to serve people. And I think that that's something that both my brother and I kind of have taken on as well, because we love to serve too in different ways. But just so grateful for my parents for showing us what it means to truly serve and to just show Christ-like love to everybody. But yeah, mahalo nui for bringing us on. I brought the other child of the family. I don't know if they talked about him, but he's the other family member.
Probably. Yeah.
Thank you, Kelia. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't see the first part. I was kind of busy. I just finished work a little while ago. But I'm gonna assume it was about service. So, that's like sis said. One thing I know about like my mom and my dad is that when they ever feel like they know someone's in need, or if they can just serve in any way, like I've known this all my life, that they would drop whatever they're doing to go and help out, to lend that helping hand.
Yeah.
And I know that, and like in my own experiences with them, they do it without even expecting anything, and it's just out of the aloha that they have for the people that they're serving. And I'm not as like outgoing aloha as them sometimes, but I do know that because of them, I have that in me as well. Like when I do serve and I do help someone, I do it because I don't expect anything in return. And even being that it is my birthday today, I was kind of thinking about different things like birthdays throughout the years. Just my parents in general. I appreciate them. I love them. And as I'm getting older, like I realize there's more of each of them in me when I look at myself. So I love them. I appreciate it. I may not have said it as much as I should have, growing up. I watch and I appreciate, and when I reflect on myself, I do see that. And like Sis said, we learn from them and we try and be the best versions of ourselves, but as much as we can to be like them in our own way. So
If you,
yeah,
I love you guys, man. Oh,
straight now, right there, straight from the mouth.
Jason, so if you're listening, you notice that my daughter refers to her brother as brother, and he refers to her as sis, and that's how they grew up all their lives. She's sis, he's brother, and everybody around us, when we're talking to them, they all look at who are they talking about? And it's just that's just in terms of endearment that we have. But the both of you guys, this is actually from Mom. I'm so happy for your mother.
Yeah.
It was a really tough decision coming, and I know it was tough on you guys as well as tough on Mom. But to be present today and with graduation this December, I just want you to know how proud I am of her at our age, coming back to school at a new time in a new generation of how school is supposed to be delivered.
Yeah.
I know BYU Hawaii is not the way it was when we were here in school, but I'm proud of her very much.
We're really proud of you, Mom.
Yeah.
We're so proud. It's so good to see Mom push herself through education, because I think just like as a family, we value education so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I feel like my mom probably already told this story, but the motto in the family, a family that does math together stays together. I don't know if she told that story, but I'm just so proud of my mom for going back to school for for so many years, and then seeing her do class online and take quizzes. It's so funny, but it's inspiring just to see her push herself and really try to get the A every time. But yeah, there's been some times where we've had to help her with her homework and really just sit there and do it for her.
With her, sis.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just, go ahead.
Just something that came into my mind that's staring at and looking at my beautiful children is Brandon's experience with us from age 0 to age 5 was here at BYU Hawaii. I'll always treasure that, not just his whole life, but that particular moment. We came back to Laie at the tail end of my daughter's years here at BYU Hawaii, and what a gamut, what an extreme to see both children in this situation.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
No, funny side note. I just looking at their names, and it has the years at BYU. It's just funny to see 82 to 92 and then 2018. Sorry.
That's why I try not to throw jokes, because I'm looking at the age. I'm like, oh, I was the one, like, the kind of Hanabata days, I mean, just kind of like I was just a snot-nosed kid. I'm not even supposed to be on this platform talking to Anthony.
That's so funny.
Mom always teases Dad for being on the 10-year plan, but Mom's been on like the 40-year plan.
Hey, I never thought about that.
True.
Well, I know we're coming up upon and a time, but I definitely want to thank brother and Kalia.
Yeah, no,
Sis, if you don't mind, brother and sis, thank you guys for coming on here to
yeah,
share your thoughts, because my cup is filled after listening to what you had to say about
yeah,
your mother and your father. It's that goes to show that your upbringing,
yeah,
it was done right. It
yeah,
was
no,
done right, and it was done with the spirit. And so I want to make sure that your mom and your dad has the last word. So I'm going to, before we turn it over to some of the comments that we have, what would you like to say to your audience? Uncle Auntie, what would you like to say? We'll go ahead and we'll spotlight you guys right now, if that's okay.
I'll go short because I want her to have that time. I'm grateful for this platform. We were anxious, fearful, excited to come on because we've not done this before as in our lifetime. But you know, let me share from our age, from our generation of BYU Hawaii. We loved being here. We enjoyed being here. We grew up in a church here. We grew up as a family, as a marriage, as a couple here. And when we left here in 92, we took all of that with us. And we hope that we instilled some of this into our children. Our son moved with us. Our sons moved with us several times and in several different places. And I just want to thank him for allowing us to be his parents.
yeah,
I want to thank Kilia for being patient. It wasn't the easiest of choices to come here and allowing us to be here at this time, but just thank you for letting us be here.
Mm.
I think for me, when I was interviewed by Keala Ka'i for an article that they wrote on me, they asked me what is one thing that I wanted to share. And I think for me, my message is that I hope that my children and my future posterity and grandchildren know that their mother, that their grandmother had courage to do this. This is one of the hardest things I've had to do, but that I had courage to come back and do it. I am here to fulfill a dream that I had. One of my favorite interviews that I watched was with President Hinckley and Sister Hinckley. And the interviewer asked Sister Hinckley, "What is it that you love about your husband, the prophet?" And she said, "My husband has given me wings to fly, and I have soared, and I have loved him every day for that. Your dad, Killian Brandon, have given me wings to fly, and I have soared, and I couldn't do it without him, and I couldn't do it without you folks. You are my greatest cheerleaders. You are in my corner cheering me on. But I want you to know that I had the courage, and I want my family to know that I had the courage to come back, because that's how much I value education. And I know that when we return back to Heavenly Father, that's all they will take with us, the relationships that we've made and the intelligence that we have gained here on earth. For truly the glory of God is intelligence. And so I am so grateful. I have a testimony of BYU. This is where I learned and I grew and I continue to grow. It's been home for us. Like, it has always had a special place in our heart. And so to be able to return where it all started 36 years ago, I get to finish my journey, my educational journey here. And for that, I am so grateful.
I had to wipe my tears, but Uncle David, Auntie Melony, Kalia, Brandon, thank you guys so much for being on this platform with mom and dad. This was heartfelt. My cup is filled, and I'm pretty sure many of our audience that are in attendance has probably taken the spirit throughout the weekend, and I hope that we all can just take this and better our lives each day. And thank God for a lot of the things that help us through some of these challenges. What I like to do is let me take it to the chat. Let me some of the guys that had chimed in. Let's see. We have Uncle Keith. He says, "Aloha, you."
Oh.
Nice to see you both. And then we have Jeannie Lincoln Matali.
Oh.
Yeah, and
Aloha Mel David from White River, Arizona. Wow, that's a
Oh,
our place. We have Millie Louis Nebo, I believe, in Sandy, Utah, that chimed in. We also have Maggie Gobel. She looks beautiful. I know she's yes. We also have, and I think that's pretty much what we have from a lot of our viewers from today. But nonetheless, we wanted to take this time again to thank you, Uncle David, Auntie Melony, and for your whole ohana for being on this platform today. We know that you could be somewhere else in the world doing missionary work, but you decided to spend that time with us. And with that, we say mahalo, and may God continue to bless you and your families, and let's keep this going. So thank you again for coming onto our platform today. With that in mind, we wanted to be able to say thank you again for all of those who chimed in today on our platform. Please join us on the Ohana Network. You can get more updates there, and you can also get a copy of watching Uncle David and Auntie Melony's journey, their story. It's one that you could watch over and over again, and you can feel that mana, that spirit. So with that in mind, we see you next week. Join us on Monday mentoring next week at 1:00, and then next week Aloha Friday at 3:00 Hawaii Standard Time. With that, aloha and have a good weekend. Soifua.